Tonight I'm going to be reading an excerpt from Ursula Guin's short story, The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. I only have time to read about half the story with a time limitation. This story was first published in 1973, and it's a work of philosophical fiction. It describes a utopian society whose citizens are intelligent, enlightened, sophisticated, and cultured. They've conquered disease. They have no need for war. They have only a few laws, really principles that they need to govern. But most of all, they're happy people. Their joy isn't naive or childlike, however. The citizens of Omelas are mature, intelligent, passionate adults whose lives are beautiful and fulfilled. But the tone of their happiness is defined and tempered by a strange paradox. So here's an excerpt from The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. Most of the processions have reached the green fields by now. A marvelous smell of cooking goes forth from the red and blue tents of the provisioners. The faces of the children are amiably sticky. In the benign gray beard of a man, a couple of crumbs of rich pastry are entangled. The youths and girls have mounted their horses and are beginning to group around the starting line of the course. An old woman, small, fat, and laughing, is passing out flowers from a basket, and tall young men wear her flowers in their shining hair. A child of 9 or 10 sits at the edge of the crowd, alone, playing a wooden flute. People pause to listen, and they smile, but they do not speak to him, for he never ceases playing and never sees them, his dark eyes wholly wrapped in the sweet, thin magic of the tune. He finishes and slowly lowers his hands, holding the wooden flute. As if that little private silence were the signal, all at once a trumpet of sounds from the pavilion near the starting line, imperious, melancholy, piercing. The horses rear on their slender legs, and some of them neigh in answer. Sober-faced, the young rider strokes the horses' necks and smooths them, whispering, "Quiet, quiet, there, my beauty, my hope." They begin to form a rank along the starting line. The crowds along the race course are like a field of grass and flowers in the wind. The festival of the summer in Omelas has begun. Do you believe in Omelas? Do you accept the festival, the city, the joy? No? Skeptical of any utopia? Then let me describe one more thing. In a basement under one of the beautiful public buildings of Omelas, or perhaps in the cellar of one of its spacious private homes, there is a room. It has one locked door and no window. A little light seeps in dustily between the cracks in the boards, secondhand from a cobweb window somewhere across the cellar. In one corner of the little room, a couple of mops with stiff, clotted, foul-smelling heads stands near a rusty bucket. The floor is dirt, a little damp to the touch, as cellar dirt usually is. The room is about 3 paces long and 2 wide, a mere broom closet. In the room, a child is sitting. Could be a boy, could be a girl. Looks about 6, but is actually 10. It's feeble-minded. Perhaps it was born defective, or perhaps it has become so through fear, malnutrition, and neglect. It picks its nose and occasionally fumbles vaguely. It sits haunched in the corner farthest from the bucket and the 2 mops. It's afraid of the mops. It finds them horrible. It shuts its eyes, but it knows the mops are still standing there, and the door is locked, and nobody will come. The door is always locked, and nobody ever comes, except that sometimes the child has no understanding of time or interval. Sometimes the door rattles terribly and opens, and a person or several people are there. One of them may come and kick the child to make it stand. The others never come close, but peer at it with frightened, disgusted eyes. The food bowl and the water jug are hastily filled. The door is locked. The eyes disappear. The people at the door never say anything, but the child, who has not always lived in the tool room and can remember sunlight and its mother's voice, sometimes speaks. "I will be good," it says. "Please let me out. I will be good." They never answer. The child used to scream for help at night and cry a good deal, but now it only makes a kind of whining, and it speaks less and less often. It is so thin, there are no calves to its legs. Its belly protrudes. It lives on a half bowl of cornmeal and grease a day. It is naked. Its buttocks and thighs are a mass of festered sores. They all know it is there, the people of Omelas. Some of them have come to see it. Others are content to just know. They all know that it has to be there. Some of them understand why, and some of them do not. But they all understand that their own happiness, the beauty of their city, the tenderness of their friendship, the health of their children, the wisdom of their scholars, the skill of their makers, even the abundance of their very harvest, and the kindly weathers of their skies, depend wholly on this child's abominable misery. This is usually explained to children when they are between 8 and 12, whenever they seem capable of understanding. And most of those who come to see the child are young people, though often an adult comes or comes back. No matter how well the matter has been explained to them, the young spectators are always shocked and sickened at the sight. They feel disgust, which they had thought themselves superior to. They feel anger, outrage, impotence, despite all the explanations. They would like to do something for the child. There is nothing to do. If the child were brought up into the sunlight, if it were cleaned and fed and comforted, that would be a good thing indeed. But if it were done, in that very day and hour, all the prosperity and beauty and delight of Omelas would wither and be destroyed. Those are the terms. To exchange all the goodness and grace of every life in Omelas for that single small improvement. To throw away the happiness of thousands for the chance of the happiness of one. That would be to let guilt within the walls, indeed. The terms are strict and absolute. There may not even be one kind word spoken to the child. Often the young people go home in tears when they have seen the child and face this terrible paradox. They may brood over it for weeks or years, but as time goes on, they begin to realize, even if the child could be released, it would not get much good from its freedom. A little vague pleasure, perhaps, of warmth and food, but little more. It is too degraded and imbecile to know any real joy. It has been afraid too long ever to be free of its fear. Its habits are too uncouth for it to respond to humane treatment. Indeed, after so long, it would probably be wretched without walls to protect it and darkness for its eyes. Their tears at the bitter injustice dry when they begin to perceive the terrible justice of reality and to accept it. Yet it is their tears and anger, the trying of their generosity and acceptance of their helplessness, which are perhaps the true source of the splendor of their lives. Theirs is no vapid, irresponsible happiness. They know that they, like the child, are not free. They know compassion. It is the existence of the child and their knowledge of its existence that makes possible the nobility of their architecture, the poignancy of their music, the profundity of their science. It is because of the child that they are so gentle with children. They know that if the wretched one were not there sniveling in the dark, the other one, the flute player, could make no joyful music as the young riders line up in their beauty for the race in the first sunlight of morning. Now, do you believe in Omelas? Are its citizens more credible? But there is one more thing to tell, and this is quite incredible. At times, one of the girls or boys who goes to see the child does not go home to weep or rage, does not, in fact, go home at all. Sometimes also a man or a woman much older falls silent for a day or two and then leaves home. These people go out into the street and walk down the street alone. They keep walking and walk straight out of the city of Omelas through the beautiful gates. They keep walking across the farmlands of Omelas. Each one goes alone, youth or girl, man or woman. Night falls. The traveler must pass down village streets between the houses with yellow-lit windows and on out into the darkness of the fields. Each alone they go, west or north, towards the mountains. They go on. They leave Omelas. They walk ahead into the darkness and and they do not come back. The place they go towards is a place even less imaginable to most of us than the city of happiness. I cannot describe it at all. It is possible that it does not exist, but they seem to know where they are going, the ones who walk away from home loss. Thank you.
We take 2 minutes.